Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? If you are telling yourself, I am selfish because I take care of myself, that is a fucked up story. Like, for real, that is the wrong fucking story to tell yourself. You cannot be selfish. I've said it before, self-care is not selfish. Boundaries are not selfish. They are self-care. If you're letting people run amok in your life, stepping on you, using you like a fucking doormat, treating you like shit, and then the second you say, no, no more, stop, I'm done, you're riddled with the feeling of guilt that is embedded in you. That is ingrained in you. Someone has instilled that in you because generationally that has gone through your lineage or your family system or your community for longer than we've been here. You have to stop that. You have to give yourself the space and the permission to recognize that you cannot live your life in full accordance with the person that you want to be if you are trapped within this understanding that you should feel guilt about taking care of yourself. I don't ever look, I'll share something with you, and you need to understand this. It took me a long time to get to this understanding. I'm trying to distill decades of knowledge into 10 minutes, right? In addition to all the education that I have and the same things that I share with my clients when we're coaching. And right now is not enough time to go into the depth of it, but this is enough to start to give you an ideation about how you got here. And so now you're here, now you're looking at your life, you're measuring it. You're measuring it enough that you're having this conversation with me, which means it's a problem. So how do you create a solution in this? What is it that you need to go from I feel guilty when I take care of myself to I take care of myself and I do not feel guilt or selfishness about it because I have given myself permission to take care of myself first. Putting yourself first is not selfish unless you're doing it in a selfish way. If you are intentionally hurting people by not showing up, by being selfish, by being greedy, perfect example. Like I was super selfish in my 20s, like incredibly selfish, like in a way that I didn't even understand until, almost 20 years later. I look back on my life, I go, oh my God, like how could you do that to someone? Like, how could I say that to someone? How could I not show up for the people who needed me? Is because it was ingrained in me. Of course, that makes sense. How else do you think I got there? And then, of course, as I always say, the only way to create change is by creating change. Now you're faced with something very difficult. The only way that you're going to reframe the narrative that you have around this idea of being selfish and feeling guilt intertwined with it is to understand where it comes from. This is high level. This is enough to get you started. Where does it come from? Look at your life. Look at your experiences. Look at the things that have led you to this place in your life where you are now taking consideration of your agency being associated with guilt. And if you don't know what agency means, that means like your choices, your decisions, you're standing up for yourself, you're being you, those moments in time in which you are you. And if you're stuck and if you're trapped within this idea of guilt and shame around it, then you need to understand first how you got to where you are so you can get to where you want to go. Now, the process of getting from where you are to where you want to go, that's action. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Mindset plus action equals self-actualization. And that is the place in which you become you. Now, moving through shame and guilt, it's delicate. Shame and guilt consume us. I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Go back and listen to a couple episodes ago. I dove deep into shame and guilt. There's going to be a lot of benefit there for you. But ultimately, the idea that you should feel shame or guilt about boundaries, about showing up for yourself, about protecting yourself, that's nonsense and it's bullshit that was ingrained in you far before you could recognize or be cognizant that it was being implanted. My friends, I hope this was super helpful for you today. As always, thank you so much for listening.